Welcome back to the Secret Turnabout. Last time we did some more of this story. Uh, let's just get on with it. These two statements are clearly linked, Joanna. Yes, I could see it too this time. Me again? Do you just hate me or something? Wait, me again? Already? There's been one question plaguing me ever since a certain question came up. We know the victim, Corey Rupture, was in the vents on the day of the murder. The big question I ask is, why? How did the defendant choose to leave the bunker in favour of entering the vents? Gah, I know, right? It's all way too confusing. Is it really, though? After all we have to do is connect the dots between what we have, and that should allow us to arrive at a clear truth. Connect the dots? What do you mean? Juror 5. What? What is it? Elliot, you pointed out in order for the victim to be hung by the pulley, the victim would need to fall through the ceiling to make it happen. Well, yeah, that's exactly what would need to happen after all. And yet, it wasn't too long ago that we figured out there's a way for him to do just that. You can't be serious. It all starts to make sense when you put two and two together. Why was the victim in the vents on the day of the murder? Why did someone remove the magnetic stopper preventing the trapdoor from opening? Where did the killer hang the victim's body from? These are all questions that have a simple answer. Let's use these blueprints to show what happened. First, the killer set up the pulley inside the vents in advance. Then, the killer knocked out the victim and stowed him inside the vents. Finally, the killer tied the rope to the victim's neck. With everything set up, Corey Rupture's death trap was complete. All that was left to do was crank the pulley. And with this visual journey complete, everything should now be obvious. That's... Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it was the killer who put Corey Rupture in the vents. It was the killer who removed the magnetic stopper keeping the trapdoor closed. It was the killer who bolted the pulley inside of the vents. It was all part of an elaborate death trap. Order! Order in the court! So the victim was dragged to his death from the neck inside those tiny vents? Yeah, I nodded twice there, you see, because you're really, really right this time. That's right, this is the real truth of how Corey Rupture died. But surely doing something like that would leave some evidence behind. Yeah, I mean, right now, the pulley, the trapdoor, they're so disconnected. There has to be some sort of evidence tying everything together. And they're absolutely right, of course. There will be evidence left behind. We know that the victim was in the vent, and we know that the victim was hung. The key to connecting these two together must be what happened inside the vents. If the victim was really dragged by his neck before being hung, there's no doubt that we'll be behind evidence of some kind. Let's have to figure out what kind. How about it, kid? Think you can present some evidence? I can, Jordan, too. The victim being in the vents and the victim being hung. This is the evidence that connects those two events together. The victim being inside the vents and the victim being hung. Maybe the autopsy? Should we try the autopsy? The victim being dragged to his death from inside the vents. If we assume this is true, there's one place we can expect evidence of this would show up. And where would that be, defense? On the victim's body, naturally. Keep in mind that the victim, Corey Rupture, was being dragged by his neck. With that in mind, it's natural to assume he would have been suffocated before he was hung. But you were floating in midair for a few seconds there, Apollo, and your desk had completely vanished. Don't mind that. Well, that's exactly what happened, right? That's right, Juror 5. It's all right here in the autopsy report. It states very clearly that the victim was strangled pre-mortem. The prosecution has theorized that the victim's broken neck was not intended, and the intended cause of death was strangulation or blunt force trauma. However, now we know the truth. The strangulation was just a side effect of the actual cause of death, that being the victim being dragged through the vents until fell through the trapdoor. Order! Please be calm. I see. It's all making sense now. Your Honour, I'd like to revise my statement, please. Very well, you may do so. I'm not done yet. There's still a few jurors unconvinced. But at least now, finally I got Juror 5 to see my side. To see if her statement clashes with anyone else's now that she's agreeing with me. It seems that there's reason to believe the victim was hung by his neck from the pulley. No offense, but you really couldn't have come to this conclusion sooner. Hey, your theory needed more explanation, that's all. What, did you need an instruction manual or something? In any case, let's go over what happened one last time. The motorised pulley had been installed about a week before the murder. These were the strange noises that the defendant had been hearing. Right, I remember that part. Then, sometime after that, the victim entered the courthouse's secret bunker. On the day of the murder, the victim and the killer met up, and that's when the victim was knocked out. Right, and then the killer set up their death trap, right? That's right. They tied the victim's neck to the pulley, and then they reeled him in. What an awful way to go. I imagine the victim didn't wake up after being knocked out. At least not until it was too late. Still, there's one thing to me that just isn't adding up. And what would that be, Juror 5? Well, it's just a slight problem, really, but still, it's bothering me. Why was it necessary to set up the murder like this in the first place? I mean, there's certainly much easier ways of committing murder. Because he had to give himself an alibi in the court by pressing the button on the remote at that moment. She certainly has a point. I don't know why the killer set up the crime like this. I would stop me from figuring out this mystery. All I have to do is keep pitting the jurors against each other. I'm so close to figuring out the key to this mystery. So 5 and 6 are agreeing. I'm thinking maybe Juror 3s. Let's see. Only the defendant had the strength to break the victims. I guess Juror 1's is more definitive, isn't it? Should we try that one? Present number 5. These two jurors are not in agreement, Your Honour. Truly? Do tell, Mr. Justice. Me? What are you getting at, Mr. Justice? Me again? Why do you like picking on me so much, huh? I swear it's not intentional, Juror 5. Well, anyways. The prosecution's case has been predicated on 3 important factors. Those factors being time, location, and capability. The victim was killed between 12:30 and 12:50, meaning only the defendant had time to kill Corey Rupture. The defendant was right next to the crime scene, so only he was in the right location as well. And finally, there's the matter of capability. Right, only the defendant had the strength to break the defendant's neck like that. However, the discoveries made not too long ago have brought a new question up. What if strength was no longer a factor in this crime? What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice? I'm talking, of course, about this. Ah! The pulley! Before, it was thought that the killer would have had to use rope with his bare hands. Therefore, the fact that the victim's neck was broken was a sign of sheer strength. However, we know differently now. We know that this pulley was used to hang the victim. That on its own would have been enough to break the victim's neck. Ah! Surely you must... Wrong voice. Surely you must be joking. Unfortunately, Juror 1, I'm being completely serious right now. If the pulley really is the device that broke the victim's neck, then it knocks down one of the key pillars upon which the prosecution's case rests. Capability. Precisely. With the victim being dragged to his death by a pulley, the defendant's strength ceases to be damning evidence of his involvement. After all, it's not like the killer would need to be particularly strong to set up a death trap. In other words, the idea that the killer had to be unusually strong to commit this crime is complete and total bupkiss. I don't know what that means. Water, everyone please settle down. I need to look up what this word bupkiss means. Informal, US, nothing at all. From Yiddish bopkes, meaning nonsense or rubbish or nothing, of uncertain origin. Very interesting. So, this effectively clears Jajiri's name, right? Not entirely, I'm afraid. You're the defense, shouldn't you be saying yes? It's still a matter of proving that the killer even set up this death trap at all. You're doing my job for me then, Apollo Justice. Even so, I'm sure you'll agree we can't end the trial here. Oh, yes. That would seem to be the case. Hold on. Not so fast, dear. Oh, come on. What now? Sure, it's true. Someone wouldn't have to be as strong as the defendant in order to break the victim's neck. However, the defendant would have still had an easier time committing this crime. You've got to be kidding. She's still not convinced? I think it's clear we will need to hear more from you on this matter, Juror 1. Very well. Then I'll revise my statement. Not even the great Ace Attorney once lost at this one. I'm so close, I can just tell I am. One more push ought to be enough to finally break through to the juror. Come on, here comes justice! Oh yeah! Surely using a pulley in this crime would still require a moderate amount of strength. Have you not been listening to anything that's been going on, Juror 1? Are you actually... do you even know what the purpose of a pulley is? The entire point is that you don't need to be super strong to lift heavy objects. Not super strong, no, but some upper body strength is still required. Trust me, I know how these things work. I've been to the orphans' plays all the time. Sometimes the really little ones need help from middle or high schoolers to help with all the backstage stuff like lifting curtains and props. But sometimes they can be surprisingly strong on their own. I'm so proud of them. The trial. Huh? Oh, right. As I was saying, it's true that the method that you have proposed to us would allow a weaker person to effectively break the defendant's neck. However, it wouldn't completely eliminate the need for strength altogether. So, you're saying the defendant still would have had an easier time with this method? That's exactly what I'm saying. Thank you. Besides, there's one more problem you have yet to address. One more problem? Everyone else at the courthouse that day still has a solid alibi. The only two not accounted for that day were the victim and the defendant. But the killer didn't have to be someone anyone saw enter that day. They could have just easily come in using the vent's outside entrance. But then why set up this elaborate pulley murder to begin with? Why not just kill the victim in a less complicated manner and then escape from the vents? It all seems rather far-fetched to me. You know, she has a point. Why would the murderer use such an insanely complicated method for murder? Maybe if I could just prove that such a thing is possible at all, the answer for why will make itself clear. I mean, I guess I can't blame Apollo considering he can get to play as Aiden, but you still have heard about this. Surely using the pulley in this crime? Aiden theorized that a remote could be used to control a pulley. Right, Juror 1. I didn't even save state for that one. These two statements are clearly conflicting, Your Honor. Oh, what is it this time, Mr. Justice? Me again? What did I say wrong this time? Took you long enough to get to me. Aiden wouldn't have kept me waiting for this long. I don't even know how I'm supposed to respond to that. Getting away from that awkwardness. How the pulley can be used is crucial in figuring out the mysteries to this murder. After all, if it was just a regular pulley that you had to use manually, you'd still need some upper body strength to use it. Indeed. After all, tugging on a man's body can't be that easy, pulley or not. However, this line of reasoning has one critical flaw. The flaw, of course, being that it makes the assumption that this is a manual pulley. What do you mean? Juror 4 revealed an interesting bit of information in her statement not too long ago. She revealed that this pulley is not actually controlled manually at all, but rather that it is remote controlled. Oh, that's right. That's right. It's what Aiden said about the pulley after all. I see. So if the pulley was controlled by a remote... I can see that Your Honor knows where I'm going with this. With a remote-controlled pulley, not even the weakest person alive will be left out. Anyone could use it to kill Corey Rupture. I see. So anyone could have used the remote. Hang on, that still doesn't clear the defendant's name. What do you mean, Juror 2? Sure, the pulley being remote-controlled means nobody needed great strength in order to kill Corey Rupture. However, you said the prosecution's argument rested on 3 pillars. That's right, time, location, and capability. The pulley being remote-controlled has knocked out capability as one of the pillars. Right, but that still doesn't remove time and location. These 2 factors still implicate the defendant of the crime. Do they truly, though? What do you mean? It's very simple, really. The pulley being remote-controlled doesn't just eliminate capability as a factor. It also eliminates another key pillar in the prosecution's case. This is it. I know it is. This is the final push I need to get this trial back on track. The key pillar in the prosecution's case by this new information is... I guess time. Obviously the answer is time. How so? Well, it's very simple, really. The defendant was killed between 12:30 and 12:50 PM. Yes, your point, son? My point is, with the pulley being remote-controlled, there's no particular reason why the crime would need to take place at that time. Therefore, time is not an important factor in this murder. Oh, that's what he was going with that. This is worth it to see, at least. It seems the jury finds your reasoning lacking. It's rare to see number 2 speechless. And quite frankly, I agree with them. That wasn't right. Let me try again. My apologies, but what I still said before holds true. Location. If you really give it any thought at all, there's only one true answer. Oh, is this where we get to bring up that Aiden Gambit did it in the courthouse with the remote? All this time, the defendant being so close to the crime scene at the time of the crime, there's been a smoking gun. The one thing that truly ties into what happened that day. Indeed, it makes him look rather suspicious. However, if the victim actually died by being hung from the remote-controlled pulley, everything suddenly changes. After all, you wouldn't need to be near the pulley to use the remote, would you? Wait, you're not actually suggesting... I am. In truth, it really doesn't matter where the real killer was at the time of the crime. After all, for this crime, location is irrelevant. The truth is that the killer used the pulley remote to commit a remote murder. No. Why? That couldn't be true. What exactly is going on here? A remote murder? Is this turning out of his mind? Then what was the pulley doing in the vents? It all adds up. Is it really possible? The killer wasn't in his room when the murder occurred? Order! Order! I will have order! Mr. Justice, this is really quite the extraordinary claim you're making. The very idea that this was actually remote controlled murder the entire time? I'm well aware of how it must sound, Your Honour. However, this is where the evidence has led me. The truth is that the pulley was used to hang Corey Rupture. Using the remote, the killer could have been anywhere inside the courthouse at the time. We've assumed that everyone who wasn't near the crime scene at the time, all were accounted for and had an alibi. The truth is actually the opposite. Everyone in the courthouse on the day of the murder has just become a suspect. But it's insane. The jury cannot, we will not accept this. And you have no right to call yourselves members of the jury. Edgeworth? Pardon my interruption of the summation examination, but the jury cannot turn away new information like this. We're all shocked. Mr. Edgeworth, I don't understand. Are you siding with the defense on this issue? Don't misunderstand me, Your Honour. The prosecution still holds true to its case. The defense still has a long way to go to prove its remote murder theory. However, it is the job of our courts to look into every possibility. If the jury refuses to do so, then they have no right to call themselves a part of this court. I agree. We have to find the truth. That's our biggest priority. And hopefully I get paid for this one. If the finding that truth defies the will of the jury, so be it. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been given the opportunity to prove one thing to us today. That the common man can help our court blossom further. However, that will never happen if you refuse to hear on both sides of the argument. The choice is yours. Will you help our courts grow, or will you hinder them? Hinder! 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 No. Is it hinder or hinder? Hinder them sounds a bit weird. I think it's hinder. I'm going to say hinder, because you would say something's a hindrance. There will be 10 long, grueling minutes until the court would reconvene. I was in the jury room the entire time, listening in on the debate. When the finally came to a decision. As the jury finishes debating the matter. We have, Your Honour. We're ready to give our individual stances. Very well, you may do so. Oh boy, here it comes. Alright, all together now. Guilty. Guilty! Not guilty. Guilty! Not guilty. Not guilty. The jury is completely split down the middle. As the truth declared, the jury hung. It is decided the trial must continue. I can't believe it. I did it. Thank you, Will Powers. This girl and this guy. I can't believe it. I did it. I got the jury to agree to let the trial continue. The trial proceedings now allowed to continue from where we left off. The court shall now accept this new evidence presented during closing arguments. Yes, finally I'm making progress. Now that the trial is to continue, I must ask one question. What is the prosecution's next move? Your Honour, it is clear we must look into these new claims about remote murder. You said a debunk with the bunker buster, or confirm the defence's theory by the end of the trial. And how do you plan to do that? As it just so happens, Your Honour. I happen to know who made this pulley. You do, Mr. Edgeworth? Her name came up during the larceny trial I was involved with on the day of the murder. It was made by none other than one Vera Misham. Vera? She made this? I really wasn't expecting her name to pop up again here. For mission, the former forger. Former forger, hey. That's kind of a nice ring to it. How could you be so sure, Mr. Edgeworth? The Misham mark, Your Honour. The Mishams would label anything they made with the Misham mark when they were forgers. It seems the tradition carried over when Vera Misham started making original commissions. The pulley presented in the larceny trial had the Misham mark on it. And I took it upon myself to examine this pulley during the summation examination. So he wasn't just sitting there twiddling his thumbs. And what did you find, Mr. Edgeworth? The mission mark was in the exact same place it was for the similar presented during that trial. Is this it? I've never heard it used as a noun, I don't think, but I guess it kind of makes sense. Was in the exact same place it was for the similar presented during the trial. So, he got Vera Misham to make it, then copied it exactly, which included the mark. I see, and there was no room for doubt. This pulley was made by Vera Misham. Unfortunately, she told the court that the person who commissioned these pulleys took careful precautions to remain anonymous. Oh, did she say she made two? Even so, I can still subpoena her to this court to answer any questions that the defense may have. I never expected to see Vera again so soon. I feel a bit nervous, to be honest. Very well then, this court will take a 30-minute recess to allow for this. During that time, the defense and prosecution are free to look into whatever matters they desire. Court is adjourned. To be continued. Heading to Act 3. And here we are in Act 3, everyone. We got we're not even half an hour into this recording, so let's just start Act 3. Loading complete. Thank you for choosing to play the secret Turnabout. You're welcome. January 17th, 10:50 AM. District Court, Defendant Lobby number 3. That was too close. I think my heart is still racing from all that's happened. I've had moments of pulling victory back from the jaws of defeat, but nothing like that. Mr. Justice, that was incredible. When the guilty verdict came in, I thought for sure I was a goner, but then you somehow managed to turn it all around. Well, it's still not over yet, Judge Erie. You've opened a new possibility for the murder method, that much is true. However, we still need proof that it played out like in my theory. Right, we still need more info on this pulley. Do you really think that girl the prosecution called in is going to be of any help? You mean Vera? I don't know what her testimony will bring. However, I didn't have a case involving her in the past, and I can tell you right now, she's a good person at heart, Judge Erie. I don't think she has malicious intentions. I see. If that's how you feel, Mr. Justice, then I should put my trust into her too. With her help, we will surely get to the bottom of this case. And then we will finally be able to prove who really set up this pulley in the events. No, don't tell me. Let me guess. It was the ghost, I tell ya. They set up the pulley to frame me. Oh, brother, when will you just let this go? Well, if there wasn't the ghost here already, there might be one now. Oh, please don't say that, Mr. Wright. Indeed, the only ghost I see here is the notion this case would be simple. Mr. Wright? Mr. Edgeworth, what are you two doing here? Great work in there so far, Apollo. I knew you wouldn't let me down on this, and I was right. Let me down on what? On your summation examination, of course. I knew this case was in Edgeworth's favour since the beginning. You know what? There just simply wasn't enough proof to counteract his arguments. Even so, I couldn't help the feeling that something was off about this case. I knew if there was any way to prove what it was, it would be in the summation examination. I've seen many turnabouts in my lifetime, but what you managed was something else. Something from one of my ancestors' lifetimes, actually. Indeed, that was one of the most impressive feats I've seen in the courtroom. I dare say, right, that your protege may be on track to surpassing even you. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. You two are gonna make me blush. No, then we must return to business. After all, I didn't come here just to spend my time needlessly praising you. Huh? What did you come here for? Do you remember what happened when Emma presented that pulley to the court? How I reacted when I said, how can I not? It's so fresh in my mind. Feast your eyes on this. What is that? Some kind of pulley? No! Mr. Edgeworth, are you okay? Detective Sky. Are you sure you found this pulley in the vents? Ah, Mr. Edgeworth, what's wrong? Why do you have that look? Just answer the question, detective. Yes, I'm sure that's where I found it. Miss Sky, Mr. Justice, you don't realise I've seen an identical pulley to this one recently. Used as evidence in the larceny trial against Manny Steele. What? You realise what this means, of course, Mr. Justice. The larceny at the prosecutor's office and the murder of Corey Rupture are connected. Well, it seems to be what the evidence is telling us, yes. Oh, there's a problem we run into now. Huh? A problem? As it stands, Manny Steele is undoubtedly the culprit who stole the files from my office. Unfortunately, there is no possibility he is the one who set up your death trap theory. After all, he was in police custody the entire time. But there has to be a connection here. Two identical pulleys in both trials, and the murder took place during the larceny trial. These can't just be coincidences. Perhaps there'll be a dark truth underlying this case. It almost sounds like you have an idea of what the dark truth is. That look on your face tells me everything, Mr. Edgeworth. You're starting to get an idea of who the true culprit is, aren't you? It seems like Ryan was correct. Those skills of perception are beyond compare. Even so, your client's innocence is still not a guarantee at this point. And so I'll continue my fight against you and your theory. Even at the cost of the truth? You misunderstand me, Mr. Justice. It's not my intention to fight against the truth at all. Indeed, Mr. Edgeworth is just doing his job. Judge Erie? Listen here, Mr. Justice, and listen well. We don't pit attorneys against each other for fun. The goal of our courts is not, and should not be, to pick a winner. Mr. Edgeworth is going to test you. It's not going to be easy. But it's a necessity for him to question your theory. You need him to challenge you. He will help you to see the holes in your thought process, and he will make you fill in the gaps when no questions remain. Only then will you be able to find the truth. That was surprisingly well said. And Judge Erie certainly has his eccentrics. However, he's a man who cares deeply about finding the truth. He's an honourable man. Even if the conclusion he came to is supernatural. Mr. Justice, I'm well aware that my beliefs aren't quite usual. However, if the evidence of this case proves or disproves the supernatural, then wouldn't you say we got one step closer to the truth? Well, I suppose he's not wrong. If there's one thing I have learned from my years of practicing, is that sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. Sometimes proof is stranger than fiction. However, as long as we follow where the evidence takes us, then we can rest easy, knowing that it is indeed the truth. I guess there's still so much I don't understand. I was chosen to be the one to help our courts grow. Yet I also have growing to do. But on one day, I'll learn what it truly means to be a lawyer. But for now, I'm just winging it. Maybe then I can finally make a difference. No, then I don't have much time to spare. If I'm to get the very mission ready for the stand, I must be on my way soon. However, before I leave, there's one last thing I must do. What's that, Mr. Edgeworth? If you intend to prove a connection between this case and the larceny case, and you cannot do it with the evidence you currently have. And so, Mr. Wright, requested I bring you 2 pieces of evidence from the larceny trial. The first is this: the remote that Adrian Gambit presented during the trial. Presented by Gambit? This couldn't possibly be. Just when things started to seem like they were going his way, he decided to bet his entire case on one single piece of evidence. So I figured out this didn't go so well. He crashed and burned right at the last minute. He wasn't so adamant about the fact that he needed only one piece of evidence. The kid might have stood a chance. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, it's the moment of truth. It's time to prove what really happened on that day. Nothing happened. What? It seems at long last we have reached a conclusion. The defense's theory was incorrect. So that's how it happened, huh? Indeed. I was there to witness the entire ordeal. Gant made a claim that this pulley was used to climb down from the roof and into my office on the night of the theft. But the remote didn't work. Indeed. Payne even countered that this couldn't be the remote used for that pulley. After all, the thief would need the remote to flee the scene, yet it was found in my office. I see. Still, I can't help the feeling there's more to this. If the remote isn't connected to the pulley from the larceny trial. I wonder, could it possibly be? Received from Edgeworth, the remote used during the larceny trial, theorized by Aiden Gambit to be used for the motorized pulley he found. The second piece of evidence we have is this. What? Is that a letter? A blackmail letter, supposedly sent to Manny Steele. Is what the defense claim true? Are you being blackmailed? Well, it's been a while since I had to voice this guy, so I've kind of forgotten, but... It's true, Your Honor. A few days ago, I received a typed letter in the mail. There were very clear and specific instructions for me to follow. But I refused! He refused, even though he was being blackmailed? Indeed, he claimed it was because there was nothing the blackmailer could hold over him. But I think there's more to the story. Manny Steele is not nearly that brave. So following the instructions would actually be worse for him than disobeying them. Sadly, as this letter is typed, not handwritten, there's no way to test its authenticity. However, we still have yet to figure out what the Spirit of Seething wants. Or whether they are, in fact, Jonathan Seething, like Gambit theorized. Spirit, as in ghosts? So the ghost of a dead kid really has come to haunt this courthouse. Oh, for crying out loud. In any event, if the larceny and Corey Richards' murder really are connected, then perhaps the true nature of this Spirit of Seething will finally come to light. The typed blackmail letter shown during the larceny trial thoughts were been sent to Manny Steele. Yeah, when we first went into this, I updated to use this new interface, so we couldn't really read the letter, but we'll read it again. To the one who saved my life, your noble action is marred by a shameful career. While you may have kept my body safe, your actions have forever tainted my soul. I am prepared to reveal the entire truth from that case 13 years ago. Unless you want your involvement known, you will do as I say. Keep this letter with you, but don't tell a soul. Further instructions will be sent bearing the same signature. Signed, the Spirit of Seething. Alright, well, that's settled. Is that it? Not quite yet, Apollo. There's one last thing I requested. Is it going to be the case files from that assassination case? One last thing. I hope you appreciate the lengths I go to for you, right? It was not easy getting authorization to bring this to you. It was only with the new connection between these cases that I was given an allowance. Something that goes above even the chief prosecutor? In any case, here are the files that you requested. Files? What are these for? These were the files stolen from my office on the night of the larceny. You mean what Manny Steele was after? Indeed, these are the files for the AS-10 incident. Ah yes, the case for which Corey Rupture was most famous. Corey Rupture? The victim was involved in this case? And Manny Steele's the prosecution? Small world, isn't it? Corey Rupture's most famous case. Against Manny Steele, no less. Let me put it this way. The guy's most famous case was about an assassination. The kid's parents were killed right in front of him, and the kid was almost killed himself. The guy had the gall to say that this kid was faking his injuries, and he'd had his entire testimony revoked. This has to be it. What Emma was talking about earlier. The AS-10 incident has to be what ties everything together. So AS-10 files, the case files belonging to the AS-10 incident, stolen from Mr. Edgeworth's office. Check for more details. Let's take a look at this now. So, date of crime, January 16th, 2014. So, if this case take place in 2028 or 2027 or thereabouts, you know, it's like 14, 13, maybe 15 years later. Charge, double murder. Verdict, not guilty. Defense, Corey Rupture. Prosecution, Manny Steele. Witness, Jonathan Seething. Key witness, Jonathan Seething, claiming he was attacked a few days after the murder, saying that the prosecution, Manny Steele, saved his life and they were both wounded in the process. Defense refuted this claim, proving that no such wound existed on Steele's person. No such wound existed on Steele's person. Several years old. That seems to contradict that. Victim data: Melissa and Jonas Seething. Both victims were hung to death in their own home right now in bedroom. Evidence suggested the murderer entered into their home while they were sleeping. The lock on the front door was intact, suggesting the perpetrator had a key. Suspect data: murderer. Deirdre was thought to be an assassin for hire, but this was never proven. He was known to have links to a famous politician. Deirdre and his daughter Sia died in a fatal car accident 2 months after the trial. Foul play was suspected in the accident, but no evidence was found at this. Murderer. I think they must be innocent, you know. No then, that really is all the time I can afford. And Sia Deirdre. Oh, I get it, like, maybe they saw a deer in the road, is that the pun there? You know, and crashed. Don't expect me to pull any punches in there, Mr. Justice. Don't worry, I'm not going to hold back either. Quite a lively protege you have, right? Lively is definitely one way of putting it. Farewell, Mr. Justice. I'll see you in the courtroom. You know, I have to say, in court he seems so intimidating. And yet, out of court he's not nearly so ferocious. Miles Edgeworth may carry a cold demeanour, but he's a caring man. There are many in these courts who don't take me seriously due to my beliefs. Yet Mr. Edgeworth has always treated me with respect when I'm at the bench. Yeah, he can be a big softie when you get to know him. Despite that, he'll stick with his convictions until the very end. I'll make sure not to let him down. I'll get to the bottom of this case and find the truth. Even the evidence I requested will help with that? I think so, but there's still one thing that bugs me. And what would that be? There's something Emma said when I was investigating the crime scene. It was actually a bit strange. What was? Based on the blood splatter, he should have been right on top of the fireplace. However, he was instead found right next to it. Even with the evidence I have, I can't wrap my head around it. This could have been explained in Edgeworth's theory, but not in mine. That's pretty weird. Well, I'm sure you'll be able to figure it out, won't you? Yeah, I hope so. A ghost did it! Jerry, you okay? Oh yes, I'm Hercule and I'm fine. Did you really have to teach him your cords of steel, Apollo? Huh? I wonder what got into Jujiri all of a sudden. I think I'm finally starting to see how things connect. Core Rupture, Manny Steel, Jonathan Seething. These files will be the key to unlocking the full truth. No matter what, I have to keep strong until that truth is revealed. A dragon never yields. And I won't. Here comes justice. So this is post Spirit of Justice. Apollo speaking. I'm forgetting things, so I'm forgetting exactly how Apollo was doing. Does this drop? Well, maybe it's before. I don't know. When did this happen? Who knows? Court has now reconvened for the trial of Hercule Erie. Does the autopsy report have the year? Probably not. No. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Mr. Justice. The defense is ready, Your Honor. I was just giving the AS-10 files a look through, since it was my last chance before the trial started. I beat Apollo to the punch on that one. Very well, let us proceed immediately. Miss Edgeworth, have you managed to subpoena Vera Mission? You know it, baby. I mean, indeed I have, Your Honor. She is currently waiting in the lobby, even as we speak. Very well, you may call her as a witness to the stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Vera Mission, ex-forger. I certainly wasn't expecting to see Vera in court ever again. By the looks of it, everything that's happened is taking a toll on her. 2 days ago, you testified in this very courthouse, correct? Yes, that's correct. I testified about a commission I had done recently. And that commission was the creation of this pulley, correct? Yes, I recognise one of my creations anyway. Oh, is that so, Miss Mission? Then would you happen to recognise this pulley as well? Yes, that's one of mine. Order! Order! I see. This confirms that there were 2 pulleys inside the courthouse that day. Is there any reason you didn't get to tell us that you had made multiple pulleys? Yes, it all has to do with evidence law. Evidence law? Oh, I think I understand. At the time of the larceny trial, this pulley had not yet been pre-approved of by the police, meaning you could not talk about it unless it became relevant to the case. That's correct. Since the second pulley never became relevant to the case, I wasn't allowed to talk about it. He even told me I'd get in trouble if I did. He? Who's this he, Vera? A lawyer came to my house asking about the pulley. He asked me to testify in court and told me about evidence law then. Wait a minute, is she talking about Aiden Gambit? Did you know about the second pulley all along? You're looking more and more guilty, man. I'm not entirely sure what you would have gotten in trouble for in this mission. The information he may have given you may have been inaccurate. I see. May I ask a question, Mr. Edgeworth? What is it you wish to know? That second pulley I created. Why did you find it? As it just so happens, this pulley was found in the unused ventilation shafts, located above the scene of Corey Rupture's murder. What? A murder? Is everything I'm picturing to be used in some plot? Poor Vera. It can't be easy to learn she's been tricked again. I think it's clear we need to hear more about the pulleys in question, and how the commission for these pulleys came in. And this time, I'll prefer you not to leave out any details. Alright. Aiden Gambit, you little swindler, you... No one tricks Vera. Except for me, Christoph Gavin. I can trick Vera. She's literally spending her whole life getting taken advantage of by lawyers. Slimy, dirtbag lawyers. I'm surprised she still trusts them. There are talents I still have from my days as a forger, though I try to stay within the law now. While I do most of my commissions face to face, there are still mine except through mail. When I received a letter with no signature on it, I really thought nothing of it. I had to ask for 2 pulleys that would work as the press for button. Once I was finished making them, I brought them to the designated drop-off point. I see. So you never met the commissioner in person? Sadly not. Maybe I need to stop accepting requests by mail. It just sounds like it would be rather inconvenient to me. Though perhaps you should require all commissions by mail provide a name of some sort. I understand, Your Honor. And Apollo, I'm sorry. It just seems like my work keeps putting you and Mr. Wright in trouble every time. Even when I try and turn things around, my past keeps haunting me. Objection! Apollo, you don't really need to object to that, you know. But I guess it kind of makes sense. Vera, you can't think like that. You can't keep blaming yourself every time someone uses you. Plus, I mean, you know, this made a hella good mystery case. You haven't gotten used to the larger world yet. You still have much to learn. But you will. I know you will. You made a promise after all. Thank you, Apollo. You're right. Your words, they mean a lot to me. I prefer the defense and the witness not make googly eyes at each other in court. No one has still a cross-examination to do. I wasn't... Mr. Justice, I had no idea you were so popular with the ladies. But I must agree with Mr. Edgeworth. I prefer that you don't flirt in this courtroom. But if you want to, after the courthouse, you can go... we actually have a bar in this courthouse, you know, called the Association Bar. You get it? Because it's like bar association. But so, never mind. Just carry on without me. I'm gonna go get a drink. Thank God Trucy isn't here to see this. She'd be teasing me so much right now. The commission. We're gonna start pressing. I still find it odd that you were never officially charged with those forgeries. Mr. Gavin was very understanding of my situation. He knew that my talents had been exploited ever since I was very young. It's been a bit difficult for me to come to terms with it as well. But even after everything he put me through, I still love my father. His death is one I don't think I've completely gotten over. I certainly know the feeling of still looking back fondly at memories with a father figure. Even when they were using you for their own agendas. I don't think many would say that Drew Mission was a good father to you. But I can't blame you for mourning your loss. Well, hey, I mean, you know. He did kind of come round in the end when he sent a letter to Christoph Gavin telling him to, you know, get the fuck away from my daughter. Just unfortunately I killed him. But yeah, probably shouldn't be using your daughter to commit forgeries, you know, I mean, you can't be that, I mean, there's a cost of living crisis, sure, but, you know, and I guess the artist, being an artist doesn't pay very well, but, you know, maybe you could, get people to pay you for commissions on Ace Attorney Online, who knows, make some sprites. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Actually, it was the fact that I've been used my entire life that was the main point of contention. Mr. Gavin used that to plead with the prosecutor's office to lessen or drop the charges. They agreed on one condition. That you work with the police to help catch your former clients. Naturally, I didn't really have any choice but to agree. I like to think that I would have helped them regardless. And why is that? So much talk these days about how nobody trusts the courts anymore. Some people have taken to calling it the dark age of the law. And repeating this phrase over and over again, it actually kind of gets annoying when the point gets hammered home so much. I can't help but think I had a part to play in all this. Vera. It's hard to say whether you are part of the cause for the dark age of the law. However, that you are willing to own up to your mistakes is rather admirable. No matter what our part in this is, we must all take responsibility to stop it, if things are to improve. Well said, Mr. Edgeworth. But for now, let us return to the cross-examination. We'll have time for all this profound stuff at the end of the trial, I think. Miss Bisham, how do you intend to receive your requests? You most commissions face to face? Doesn't that seem a bit, I don't know, dangerous? What exactly do you mean? Well, I mean, after what you went through the last time, don't you think a bit more caution is needed when picking who to meet in person? Mr. Justice, I think Miss Bisham is more than capable of making decisions for herself. I don't think she needs you to coddle her every step of the way now, does she? I wasn't trying to... Sedgeworth is right, Apollo. I made a promise that I would try to become a more productive member of the outside world. Please stop getting worried every time I do something in favour of that promise. Why am I suddenly the bad guy here? Let's try to get back on topic for a moment. Last time I recall from State vs. Mission, you used to only accept requests through mail. When did you start allowing face-to-face requests? Incidentally, it was after my trial that I started more face-to-face requests. I don't know if the atrial poisoning was my wake-up call, or the trial itself was. I realised I had spent far too much of my life hiding from the outside world. Life's not worth living if you're not sharing it with others. Oh, Vera, that game's really the number on you, huh? You think? I mean, Daddy died and she got poisoned. How she could say sorry enough for putting that poison in your mouth? Apollo, why do you still believe Kristoff when he said that was your fault? She would have eventually bitten her nails anyway. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get so depressing. I'll be fine, don't worry about me. Well, the events of that case were shocking. I am glad your life has changed for the better. In any case, let us return to the cross-examination. What went on through your mind when you first received the request for the police? You're sure that you had no suspicions at all? An unmarked letter in the mail would definitely set off a few red flags for me. As you said before, Apollo, I'm still learning about the wider world. Besides, I'm used to my clients valuing their anonymity. It can be difficult to adapt into a new line of work, I'm afraid. Old habits can take over if you're not careful. And in my case, old habits means not asking questions. And yet I can't help but wonder something about your explanation. Here you're the person you had no way of contacting at all, choosing to remain hidden. How are you expecting to receive payment for your work? The thought hadn't really occurred to me, admittedly. I had just assumed that leaving the payment in my mailbox like the first time. The first time? Yes, I received part of my payment in advance. $2,000 with a promised $3,000 more for finishing the job. But $5,000 total? That's quite a lot of money. Indeed, but the price is about right. This kind of machinery, especially special ordered, can prove very expensive. My question is, have you received your second payment? Not as of yet, no. I didn't expect the payment to come immediately, of course. I can only hope my client keeps their word. Same here, I won't Vera to get scammed. For now, let's turn our attention back to the cross-examination. What exactly did the letter request from you, Miss Bishop? We'll ask more about that next time, because we're about out of time here today. And next time, hopefully as well, we can finally prove that... it's probably going to be in the video after, to be honest. We're going to drag this out, probably, but... I ain't got my fucking eye on you, Aiden Gambit. You ain't getting away from me. I mean, with the way this case is framed, you probably are, but still. I am gonna point to you with my finger. But yeah, see you next time.